have the Senate Bonding Committee out here to look at a very dangerous intersection on Highway 36 in Oak Park Heights at the corner of Panera. So we've got the Bonding Committee out. The intersection has become more dangerous since the new bridge opened up going into Wisconsin. So many more cars are coming, a lot more traffic, and quite a few accidents. So we have the Bonding Committee out here to hopefully get some funding for Oak Park Heights to fix this intersection. Yeah, we've been working on this project for quite a few years. Oak Park Heights has been working on it for 5 years. I've been working on it for the last 2 years. So hopefully this bonding year is going to be the year that we can get this funding. The bonding committee is out here today because safety is our #1 issue here in Oak Park Heights. We've got the high school right behind here. We've got multiple senior living homes right behind here in Oak Park Heights, and the increased traffic. And there's been many, many more accidents just in the last year. So the traffic is increasing, and so are the accidents.
Welcome to my district, Oak Park Heights. This is smack dab in the middle of Senate District 39. It goes 23 miles to the north to Forest Lake, 13 miles to the south to where I live, St. Mary's Point, all along the St. Croix River Valley. Growing up, this was a very, very rural area, and through the years it's grown into one of the fastest growing suburbs. And with that comes a lot more traffic, a lot more cars, and a lot more issues. I want to thank Senator Senjum and the Capital Investment Committee for coming out this morning early. I'm surprised some of you get up this early. Where is he? And thank you, City of Oak Park Heights, for hosting this. I'm excited for them to do their presentation, and I'm hoping, also in Oak Park Heights, I don't know if all of you have been this far out, is what many call the Stillwater Bridge, when it's actually the St. Croix River Valley crossing, and it's actually in Oak Park Heights. And Susie, you're going to kill me for this, but I was hoping that maybe at the end you could just do a 5-minute go across the bridge and back, because I bet like Thomasoni has never been across the bridge and back, and it's a beautiful, beautiful bridge. So goes right into Wisconsin. So when I say
I'm gonna keep going east. I'm not coming back.
When I say
Wisconsin, so
I represent a border city idea. Also here is Representative Shelley Christensen, who also represents the B side of my district. So again, thank you, Senator Senjum, Susie, Capital Investment Committee. I'm going to toss it off to Senji, my seatmate, to introduce this committee.
Thank you, Senator Housley. We're here to see Highway 36. My God, I've heard so much about this. It's like, Senator Housley's been on this one for I don't know how long, but it's just like full home week to come back here, or at least come out here and now see it. I don't know how many times I've seen this particular artifact or drawing, many times, but now at least be able to conceptualize a little bit better. So it's good to be here this morning. Thank you, Oak Park Heights. I suppose I've been here before, but never been in this place. Beautiful city hall, beautiful representation out here from the community. So we're going to hear about this, I guess, and maybe we'll go out to the site. Is that Susie?
yes.
Okay, that's good. It's always good to see things. That's what we do. So we've been out and about all over the state. There's a lot of requests out there, over $5 billion worth of requests, over 500 projects, and so we make some attempt to certainly see the it's hard to prioritize these things, but certainly see some of the major ones, and we've done that. And this is our 3 days of the Metro tour. We were out on the west side, Twin Cities yesterday at the university, and so on and so forth. Today we come to the east side, so it's good to be here. It's always good to be out in this area. It's a beautiful area. Are we going to go across the bridge? Are we going to take Senator Thomasoni to Wisconsin?
It's all time dependent.
How's the air over there?
I'll talk faster.
We'll find out. Maybe.
We gotta
We'll
see the bridge.
Anyway. So why don't we introduce ourselves so that you know who we are. I'm Dave Senjum from Rochester. I happen to chair this committee. Senator
Ingebrigtsen, District 8. I represent Alexandria, Fergus Falls, Perm area.
He thinks he's a good fisherman.
Yep.
Here we go. We're in our names.
Senator Gary James, Redwood Falls, Minnesota, Senate District 16.
Jerry Ralph, Senate District 14, St. Cloud area.
David Thomasoni, Senate District 6 from Chisholm, which is on the Iron Range.
Susie and Jimmy, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Susie Giroux. I manage the Capital Investment Committee.
Jim Knudsen, Senate Republican Media.
Craig Jensen, Senate Depot Research.
Stephanie James, Senate Counsel.
Dave Fraser, Republican Research.
Casey Mum, fiscal analyst for the committee.
Chuck Wigger, State Senator. My district's right down the road in Maplewood, North St. Paul, Oakdale, White Bear area.
John Jazinski, District 24, which is Fairville, Watana, Wasika, all south of Minnesota, or Minneapolis on 35.
Okay, I think that's us. Well, we got a couple in the back. Jake?
I'm Jacob Schneider. I'm with the Senate Republican Caucus.
All right.
Nick Sherlock, Senate Republican Communications.
Scott Real, Senate CFL Media.
Okay, it's good to be here. Let me just say this. Senator Housley, before Senator Jazinski came along, was my seatmate. We've spent a lot of hours together. I know what's in her heart in terms of this district and how she cares for it, and I know she cares a lot about this project. So it's good to be out firsthand to see something, again, I've heard about so many times from your great senator out here, and she does a fantastic job for you. So let's let the show begin. Okay, who's going to start?
Well, I'm Mary McCumber, Mayor of Oak Park Heights, and I really thank Senator Senjum and all of you for coming out when it's so early in the morning. Hopefully you get some coffee and treats before you leave. What I'd like to talk about is, some of the issues as to what the need, why our need for this project, and why we're asking for it. As Senator Housley mentioned, the St. Croix River crossing, when that construction was going on quite a few years ago, this intersection was outside the construction limits. So there was never any improvements done to this. There was to some of the other intersections as you go to the east. Our engineer will tell you some more information as to why this intersection is so bad. But one of the issues is that we're a city under 5,000, so we don't get any Minnesota MSA funds. We also don't get any local government aid. And as all of you know, this street assistance account has not been funded for the last several years. And even it was, we were only getting about 18,000, which really won't make a dent in this project. We're going to need if we got it, we'd need every dime of it for pothole filling in the spring. My glasses are all right. Age. We also have quite a few non-tax-paying entities within our city, such as the Met Council Waste Treatment Plant, the Stillwater Area High School. We have the maximum security prison here in Oak Park Heights, and other things. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball on that thing. And then, as you see here, even though we're less than 5,000, our population, so to speak, grows to about 40,000 every day because of the number of students that go to the high school. We are home to Anderson Corporate Office, which has a lot of employees coming and going. All the traffic that's transversing through Wisconsin, and then all of our commercial district. Any employees that all of the businesses, the power plant, the senior complexes that we have. As you'll see, this intersection actually serves a regional purpose. It's not necessarily just for the residents of Oak Park Heights. We want our businesses to succeed. We want to invite people here, and if you go through town when the stores are open, you'll see probably more Wisconsin plates here than Minnesota plates. Unfortunately, it's the city of Oak Park Heights and the taxpayers that foot the bill for all these type of projects, whether it's for roads, bridges, infrastructure, and that's quite a burden on a city this small. And a lot of you know that we're facing the early retirement of the King plant, which is also here in our city. It'll be closed in 2028, and that is 38% of our tax base. So we're going to be scrambling as a council to try to fill that hole and how it's going to be filled. And the fact that it's on the Scenic River, we're probably going to be facing an environmental impact study.
What company?
The XL. The King plant, you probably saw Sherco 2 and 3 are closing early.
Yeah.
And King plant is closing in 2028. So it's already 2020. That's not a whole lot of time for doing a lot of planning. Okay, now that you've heard the bad stuff, I'll tell you the good stuff. We're able to receive a $644,000 grant for this project. City is committed to spending $794,000 on this project, and there's a hole of $794,000 to be able to get this done. So it's less than $1 million to make an improvement for something that has such a safety problem with it. As you can see, the preliminary layout is done. There's a lot of information that's already been done to get this project rolling, and we had hoped to have had the funding this year to be able to start construction for this year. But we'd really like to get construction going by next year. So the need is, like I said, the balance of $794,000, and we really hope that you will consider that as you're going forward. Unfortunately, you're going to go out there and see it today. Wish you could have been here about an hour and a half ago when all the students were going to the high school and buses were running. So take that into consideration when you're looking at it. I'd like to introduce some people that are here. Councilmember Chuck Doherty, our city administrator Eric Johnson, our deputy city clerk Jennifer Pinsky, Councilmember Carly Johnson in the back. I saw Commissioner Kriesel here somewhere. Oh, he did, okay. Who did I miss? Robin. Oh, Robin Anthony, our executive director for the Chamber of Commerce. And then I'm going to have our city engineer, Lee Mann, who's here today, give you all the technical details so that you can get an idea of what the project is all about. And I really appreciate all of you taking the time to come out here, have some coffee, have some cookies. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, as the mayor very aptly introduced the project, I will get right into it. So, existing conditions on Trunk Highway 36 at this intersection. Currently, in 2018, there was 38,000 cars per day. That includes going both directions. And the projected for 2040 is 41,000. We anticipate, based on the way these numbers are working, that we're going to hit 41,000 probably significantly before 2040. So the traffic is just going to continue to increase, and I think the projections of when the bridge was opened, before the bridge was opened, the projections have been exceeded. So that is what we're dealing with as far as the amount of traffic. Existing conditions, currently the frontage road is along right next to Highway 36. And this intersection right here that we're talking about is the gist of the issue. This distance right here between Highway 36 and where these frontage roads connect and where all this traffic has to navigate is the problem. This distance is significantly way too close for this to work properly and safely. To get into that in a little more detail, you can see up here, this is the intersection right here. This intersection on the PM peak time and the Saturday peak time operates at a level of service F, which is unacceptable in traffic nomenclature. You can see the intersection at 36 intersection itself operates at a level of service D. So you put all that together and you've got a significant issue, and that level of service really relates to the delay and how long people have to wait to be able to get through. And one of the big problems with that is when people have to wait a long time, they start making bad decisions as far as trying to get through, trying to get around cars, and then you end up having accidents. And so the issue with the accidents, we have the accident history up here, which you can look at if you come on up. But there's two things we look at. There's the crash rate, which is the number of crashes per million vehicles that enter the intersection. The crash rate is significantly higher than the state average crash rate and significantly higher than what's considered the critical crash rate. So significantly higher in both of those areas. The severity rate is calculated similarly to the crash rate, but it factors in the severity of the crash. So whether it's just property damage, if it's a minor injury, a major injury, or a fatality, that gets factored into that same calculation. Again, the severity rate is significantly higher than the state average and significantly higher than the critical number that the Department of Transportation looks at. So there's no question that this intersection is a significant safety issue. The state recognized that as they determined to give us the money that they gave us for the project, the grant. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I think this one scored highest or lowest, if you want to look at it either way, as far as the situation, and that's why they gave us the money. So the proposal is over on this board. What we are proposing to do is to move this frontage road back away from Highway 36, utilizing basically areas of the parking lots of the existing businesses, which for all intents and purposes, for the most part, are already used as throughways. One of the areas that's not a throughway right now is right here, but this is a throughway that's used, and this is a throughway that's used over in this area. So we would have a roundabout connecting those two areas, which, as everybody in this room knows, is a very efficient way to deal with traffic at an intersection. It lowers the delay and it allows people to get through more quickly. As part of the project, we will be enhancing pedestrian access throughout the site. And we will be cutting off the frontage roads up here and making cul-de-sacs in order to eliminate this problem right here of cars trying to get across and through the intersection. So I think I covered the gist of it. So I would stand if there are any questions. But we're very grateful that you're here. We've received money from the state. The city has put together some money, and so we ask for your very serious consideration for this issue and for what the city is asking. So thank you.
Just to ask, do you have these willing property owners or at least some condemnation, I suppose?
So far, they're all willing.
Okay.
We have willing property owners.
Actually, when you go out to the site, Panera is on the corner, and before that was built, the city worked with the owners of Panera to do a land swap to allow for the right-of-way to go through there, and also worked with the others, you know, as far as for right-of-way acquisitions, and actually built some of that into the cost of the project for whatever we're going to have to, you know, balance everything out. The school is
down this way. So, right, not on the map. So 58th Street here, if you keep following that out to Stillwater Boulevard, it's kind of on that corner.
What's the large building to the center, to the big black building, southeast building?
This one right here?
Yeah.
That
Walmart.
is Walmart.
And then the other one on the other side would be the Kohl's, Michael's, and then you'll see another black building kind of falling off the side. That's Menards. But then if you come down here, which you don't see is 58th Street, there's a very large senior complex. It's called Boutwell's Landing. It's one of the premier ones for the state, which they also have a very large number of employees, people visiting, caretakers, people coming in and out of there, which are utilizing coming through there. I personally try to avoid this intersection. I'll come down here in 58th, and as Lee was saying, people cut across this way because they're trying not to go through that intersection.
So what are the chances when you're in peak time at the intersection that there'll be enough cars backed up there that they'll plug up the roundabout?
So on this chart over here, which I didn't address, this shows how the intersection will operate once the improvements are in. So the intersection will operate at a level of service A in all cases. So we've done an analysis, and we are convinced that there will not be a backup that will impact Highway 36.
Is there a lot of truck traffic in the area?
There is. This 1300 number here is the truck ADT.
I'm talking on the frontage road of the new proposed roundabout. There's a lot of truck traffic on that.
There is some. With the businesses here, they need to have the large trucks delivering to them. But this roundabout will be designed to handle that size of truck.
How about assessments? Any proposed assessments on the property owners for the street or not?
Nope.
It's in an odd area. We're trying to impose assessments. It's not feasible.
Does the same problem exist on the north side?
Yes.
It does. It does.
But Stillwater at this time, that side is Stillwater, and at this time, that, as far as I know, they're not addressing it. They're waiting to see what's going to happen with the Herberger's building that's vacant. Or at least that's the last I heard about that. That one does not seem as significant on the north because there isn't the amount of commercial retail space on that side. There's a couple of hotels and there's a Perkins on the corner, but the amount of traffic that's going across that frontage road is not the volume that it is on the south.
What's the ask again?
794,000, so in that sense, it would be about a third of the project. We've already secured the 2/3 of it.
In the local share is a third.
We're putting up 794. We have a grant for 644, and then we would need 794.
Is this a central pond here new?
This pond is existing.
Is there now?
That's
Isn't it in MnDOT's budget?
I'm sorry?
It's not MnDOT.
It's not in their STIP.
It's not in their plan to do this intersection, you know, for the next 20 years. It's not in their plan.
How long have you been working on it?
How long have we been working on this? 2 years? 5 years?
2 years, but
5 years. 5 years,
Why isn't you're having fun?
I guess.
Are the small little chunks of property of the existing frontage road, will they vacate back to the property owner? Or that's state property, I suppose?
That's state.
Yeah. So these pieces here, you know, that's something that remains to be determined. There may be some that goes back. There's some that we will need to keep, obviously, for these cul-de-sacs.
And so they'll be handled as local roads at that point? Snow plowing and things like that?
Yes.
Is that-
Correct.
Yes, we take care of that.
Is the local share, you said the city is 600 plus thousand, is any of that, is there any county contribution?
No,
Have you-
it's totally city. So it's coming from our taxpayers and our squirreling away money, knowing this was coming.
Any utilities in there, water, sewer, anything like that? You have to deal with, mostly all road improvements.
Yeah, there will be some utilities that we'll have to deal with. Not an excessive amount, but there will be some.
Not like there was with the whole 36 project when it was going through, and that, most of that was in our city, and that was a major, major project for us and cost our city quite a bit of money, as well as losing, as part of the construction, we lost 70 homes and businesses that had to be taken out. So that also, these projects keep impacting, you know, what our tax base is.
Can we get copies of these charts electronically?
Some of those are in your
Oh,
packets.
I didn't get, well, but.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We'll make sure that everybody gets it.
What challenges do you have with the Oak Park Heights prison here? You're the investigating agency of any issues that go on in the prison?
No, I just had a meeting yesterday afternoon with the warden, and they are working with the commissioner for all of the prisons on a new strategic plan as to how they're operating and how they notify the city. We do not go, as a city, we do not go there unless we're invited. They handle things internally. So say like when they, Officer Gone, Officer Crazy, they handle that internally.
There are peace officers in there that do that investigation?
Yes. That's handled through the state, that's not handled through our city. We do have to react if there's medicals obviously out there, and that impacts, and there are. I mean, they actually have I don't want to say it's a lawn care facility that they built quite a few years ago. But every once in a while, they do have to transport, you know, offenders in and out. Sometimes they'll ask for assistance, whether it's from our police department or from the county sheriff, that they do need extra assistance.
So, just an interesting tidbit here. So, the Department of Public Safety, John Harrington, is putting together something for all the prisons then? Is that
No,
what
Paul
you mean?
Schnell.
Or Schnell?
No, Schnell. And I just got the first glimpse of it yesterday, so it's in process. But this way, all prisons will be on the same page with that strategic plan.
I think the need is very well documented. In Golden Valley yesterday on security, we learned they have a
silent alarm in the council chambers. Do you have one here?
I don't know if we should say that out loud.
Don't tell him.
Yes.
Dave, go check it out.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a test. If it's red, just push it. Does it work?
Yes. If you hit it accidentally, yes. But I know a lot of that came about after the incident in New Hope, quite a few years ago.
He's a troublemaker.
If you notice outside now, we have glass around our opening to our city hall offices that wasn't there before. So people.
Say 43,000 cars?
So in 2018, there was 38,000 cars on Highway 36. The 2040 projection is 41,000, which undoubtedly we will hit before we get to 2040.
That's coming and going.
Yep. Straight through. Yep.
On 36.
On 36.
What's the traffic counts this way? Do you have any of that?
I would have to go back and dig out my information. My name is Lee Mann, and I'm the city engineer for Oak Park Heights. Today we had a meeting with the Senate Bonding Committee, who is going around the state looking at projects. Various municipalities have asked for money to help support some important projects throughout the state. And Oak Park Heights is one of those cities that has a project that they've asked for some state assistance to take care of an important project with some important safety ramifications. The project has to do with a frontage road along Trunk Highway 36 in Oak Park Heights, and at the intersection of Norrell Avenue to the south and Washington Avenue to the north. The Norrell leg is in Oak Park Heights, and there's issues with the proximity of the frontage road and the connections to Highway 36 that creates difficult traffic situations and safety concerns. The existing condition, as you can see on this map, has the frontage road following very closely alongside of Trunk Highway 36. You can see right here in this area the intersection, which is very, very close to the highway. So there is very little room for cars to stack coming in to the intersection off of Highway 36 before there are the conflict points between the cars that want to cross the intersection from one frontage road side to the other, and then cars that are coming north along Norrell that either want to take a left or get up and get onto the Trunk Highway 36. A couple of things. The intersection operates at a level of service F, which is the worst level of service from a traffic perspective. And a level of service F basically means that there is a significant amount of delay for traffic as they're trying to get through the intersection. When there's a significant delay, it makes it much less safe because drivers will take chances to try to get through the intersection quicker. And there's a lot of points here where cars are crossing each other, which creates that safety issue and typically ends up with having more crashes. So in this particular intersection, the crash rate is significantly higher than the state average at a typical intersection, as well as the critical crash rate. The severity rate is also higher than the state average and also higher than the critical rate that the state sets forth. And so the crash rate is how many crashes there are per vehicles in the intersection, and the severity rate factors in the severity of the crash, if it's just property damage or minor injury, significant injury, or fatality. Well, back in the day when this was originally built, there was significantly less traffic and significantly fewer businesses along Trunk Highway 36. If you go back and look at some of the aerial photos from back then, there's a lot of gaps in the land where today they're filled up with businesses. So there's a lot more traffic today than there was when this was built. And in addition, the newly built St. Croix River Crossing Bridge has also increased the traffic along Trunk Highway 6. So in 2018, the average daily traffic along Trunk Highway 36 was approximately 38,000 vehicles, 1,300 of which were big, heavy trucks. The projection at the moment for 2040 is 41,000, but we certainly, at this point, with the way the numbers have been looking over the last few years, we would anticipate getting up to 41,000 significantly before 2040. We don't know for sure, but if the trend continues, we will be adding more traffic at a higher rate than was originally projected. So we analyzed the traffic patterns in the existing condition, which is where we got all of our data for the level of service and the crash rates and severity rates. And we took a look at the geometrics of the intersection and did an analysis to see if we move that frontage road back away from Trunk Highway 36, what could we gain and how could we make it better and improve the situation. So this map shows our proposed design, which brings the frontage road that is currently up right next to Trunk Highway 36. It brings it back to the south and basically follows a line through the parking lots of the businesses, the large businesses to the south here, moves it back to these parking lots where currently there is circulation already and people are using this to get back and forth. There's a piece right here that would be new, but this area right here and this area right here, the new roadway would be following what's currently, the edge of a parking lot. We would connect that with a roundabout, which is a traffic intersection design that is very efficient for the levels of traffic that we see here, and will reduce the issues significantly up at Trunk Highway 36. This is far enough south where there's enough stacking distance where there's not going to be too much stacking at the roundabout. People should be able to get through there very well. We will be cutting off the frontage road connections so that they no longer connect. At this point, they'll be cul-de-saced, and that whole issue of the conflicts and the traffic and the stacking will be resolved by this design. So the roundabout, the location of the roundabout is contiguous with one of the entrances to Walmart, which is this building here. But there's a stretch right here that will have to be constructed, totally new. There's no roadway or parking lot there right now. There was some coordination with the new Panera restaurant that was built here, and so they were very cooperative, and we've coordinated how that alignment is going to work, and that has allowed us to, that's a part of what has allowed us to make this design work. And so we will basically route the road through here and along this parking lot. It will now be a public road here on both sides, connecting at both ends here. And so the parking lot in the area where the road will be taken out, and the road will be rebuilt to a city street. And we will have the circulation here that is much better and much safer for this area. Not significantly. There are stormwater facilities in the area. We may need to expand upon a couple of them, but we've done some preliminary looks at that, and there's nothing major that we see needing to happen here. But my understanding is there's a lot of support for this. The businesses in the area see the issues with the existing intersection, and we're working with them, and it's going in a very positive direction. Well, when we get to the point when we're funded and the project can go forward, we will be looking at ways to communicate to the public on what's happening here. And so, both Oak Park Heights and Stillwater, this affects both because there's a lot of, regional interest in these businesses. And so the folks that utilize this intersection in this area come from Stillwater and Oak Park Heights and Wisconsin and all over. And so we will look at the methods with which to communicate, and we will certainly make sure that people are aware if they're interested.
Well, earlier this morning, the Senate Capital Improvement Committee came here to City Hall to take a look at what our project is going to be for Highway 36 and Norrell Avenue, with trying to abandon the frontage roads because of the unsafe distance they are from Highway 36, and changing it into a roundabout and pulled back away from the main line of 36. The city right now has secured a $644,000 grant, and the city's committed to spending $794,000 on this project. There's a funding gap of $794,000
in order to go forward for bids and final designs. So that's what we're requesting from the bonding committee this year, both through the House and the Senate and the governor. It was left out of the bonding request from the governor. So we're hoping at some point we can get funding for that $794,000 before the end of this session. This intersection was one of them. When the St. Croix Crossing was built, there was improvements that were done at Osgood and improvements at Oak Green to pull the frontage roads back as part of that project. Unfortunately, this intersection was not within the construction limits, so it was not part of that project, so it was left out. The fact that this is a city road, it's not part of the county system, so this is solely on our city. This intersection, for anybody who's lived here, visited here, knows this intersection is a nightmare sometimes to get through. And if you look at what the statistics are for the crash rates for this intersection, it is way beyond the state averages. The state ranks roads on level A through F, A being the best. This intersection operates at a level F, which is not acceptable due to the number of safety issues that happen there. It's always hard to read, what people think on the committee, but they really came up with some wonderful questions. They went out to the site and took a look at it and actually wanted to see where the new road was going. Met with the owner of Panera. They heard about how we have worked really hard with getting funding put together, working through right-of-way acquisitions, and we're ready to go. We need to get that funding in order to continue and go out for bids next year. Our city staff has worked with, say, Walmart, and they were very receptive on giving us the right-of-way to go through the parking lot there. Staff is still continuing to work with the Kohl's, that whole side there. But mostly we've gotten very positive feedback. Haven't heard any negatives yet, but that's not to say they just haven't shared. But no, it has been a very positive project. Hopefully it would start next year sometime in 2021. Because we are at the preliminary design. Obviously, it'll still have to go through the total process of a review by the watershed and some other things. But we're ready to go by next year. We do have information on our website, pretty much the same information that everyone was given here today, which shows this layout, shows some of the information. Or if they have other questions, they're welcome to call Jennifer Pinsky, Eric Johnson here at City Hall, or they can call me, Mary McCumber, at my home, and that's listed here on the website too.